going to do a quick intro first and we'll go into it.
Yeah, sure.
Welcome to Modern Mindset, the show that picks the brains of the world's leading minds to help you unlock yours. Decoding the beliefs and strategies of global experts to give you an updated mindset to make the most of modern life. Hosted by the UK's most in-demand and highest-paid hypnotherapist, Adam Cox.
This is Modern Mindset, the show that picks the brains of the world's leading minds to help you unlock yours. I'm your host, Adam Cox, and joining me today we have the founder of the Billionaire Project and the founder of the Fortune Academy, Hither Mann. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. I'm very glad to be here.
Great to have you on the show. So give us a bit of a background for you, because one of the things we talked about just before we went live is the disparity between men and women getting into business, getting into investment, particularly trading as a form of investment. What was it that attracted you at the time when there were relatively few women pursuing the path that you've now pursued?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is the crucial part of my life's journey. I'm literally trying to get more women to do what I do. And my whole involvement was always, I was used to hanging out with my cousins that were boys, and I just played with the boys in terms of I enjoyed racing cars and stuff like that rather than playing with dolls and stuff when I was growing up. So I was a tomboy growing up. So that was a major thing. It didn't suddenly happen. I wasn't like this girly girl that suddenly became like, hey, let's walk into a male dominated world. I was heavily into sports. I was very competitive at a young age. And I find that trait was celebrated more with men than women, you know, like boys rather than the girls. And my parents would naturally put me with the boys in our groups that we were as kids and say, you can handle that group, you know, whereas the girly girls and the more delicate or slightly more gentle approach was just like, okay, you're a girl, you stay there. And that's the simple beginnings of why women sometimes are not pushed into these avenues or not naturally got an affinity to come into investing or playing in the man's world, because financial trading, very much a male dominated environment, still is. The world of banking, etc. I coach bankers, and there are 2% in terms of women at a top level, managing director up. Still a problem. So what drove me to this world was I was competitive, and I wanted to forever say, well, I respect how men are amazing at making money and being successful entrepreneurs. And I knew that I'm no less. I just knew it from a young age that there is no reason why being a girl, I can't do it. I knew in the culture I grew up in that women are taking a second level, or they take the back seat in life. And that really bothered me. That was my major driver, that I don't want to be like these people. You know, I want to make my own way, but I have to do it. I have to follow this path, which is full of the men, you know, and it's working. It's still not easy to get women to accept this as a norm, but I am trying my hardest, and luckily women are coming along.
Because I would say in the field of entrepreneurship, you have had over the last few decades very high profile pioneering women that have kind of broken a few glass ceilings and kind of pioneered this kind of normalization of women in boardrooms and kind of entrepreneurs and startups. But you're right, you don't really see a lot of women within the financial trading environment. And when you see the kind of 1980s pictures of Wall Street trading floors, all men, mainly white men, you know, there is this kind of perception that it's a bit of an inclusive club. Did you find any barriers, any kind of things that hindered your approach and kind of foray into this kind of world?
You're so right. It is an all boys club and predominantly white male. That's like an easy route. It's almost a go-to. Generally just men, even if it's not white male, it's just men. And yeah, for sure. I mean, as soon as I stepped into the arena, the men would look at me and think, she's just here trying it out, you know, maybe just having a bit of fun, and she'll get bored soon, or she might break a nail and just like drop out very quickly. They actually admitted and said that directly to me a few years after, in the property world. So 2004, when I started in property, that was my initial, here's the male dominated environment. I'm like 21 years old, 22, buying my first property. Started later than some people, let's be honest, but you know, I was the only female. There was maybe one token other female who was the wife of a wealthy man. Property industry has changed massively, and I'm very grateful to see that women are really taking to property, and it's almost like 50-50. seems completely normal. But the financial industry and how I got into trading, that was even worse. The misogyny is seriously there. That is still some area of concern to me. And the barriers there, I've had full on, boardroom heated arguments, people saying, you don't know what you're talking about. And I have to really, the way I get past that is literally I have to be fully prepared. I've done like all the training that they've done. I have to know my language. I have to improve myself to be better or same as than them. And that's something a male would never have to do. So women do have a tough time. The only reason I can handle it is, I guess I did 17 years of martial arts. I was competitive at sports. I can take it on the chin. I don't get rejected, and I don't, fall into a dark hole every time there's a bit of rejection. So women, let's be honest, sometimes they struggle with the rejection and the validation's not there. If you can, and I know some super amazing women that I mentor and I've come across, huge respect for them because they can handle it too. But a lot of them, even the ones I mentor, the other ones, that are slightly needing a bit of a push, they get very, very upset when things don't go their way or someone says something negative about them. And that's what it comes down to. Can you handle the rejection that a male may give you, let alone a female? It's usually a male counterpart that will give you that, you're not good enough, see you later, we're not interested. There's no small talk, there's no, oh yeah, let's just have a cup of tea and talk about it, or we'll have a chat and give you that little tap on the back. There's none of that. So if you can handle that tough environment, then this industry is easy to work into. They respect you once you're in, but they
I imagine they respect the numbers as well, because there is an element of, the thing that attracted me to business and investing is that it doesn't care about your background. It doesn't care about your age, gender. I mean, the people might, but the actual vehicle, if you think of investing, it only recognizes decision-making and the right kind of decision-making. Do you think, given that a lot of investing these days is on online platforms where they don't even see your face, they can't know your age, gender, nationality, anything like that, do you think some of the issues are just that there aren't enough role models around? The perception is, I shouldn't be doing this because I can't see other people doing this, rather than it actually, because if you have a trading account, they're not going to say, sorry, you can't make this transaction because you're female. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, you're talking about when you open a brokerage account. Yeah, it's completely agnostic. You have to be over 18, etc. That, because brokers want people to lose and make money. So let's keep the two worlds separate. So me educating them is a different part to the brokers, like a casino. They love everyone coming in through the door and say, okay, we don't care if you have any education or not, just go crazy and press buy and sell and lose, because that's how they make their money, plus transaction costs. So brokers are half of my problem. In fact, that's the pushback I've had in the industry are brokers, because I wanted people to have the complete transparency of knowing that the first place you see, and on the football shirts and sponsored in all the sports arenas, are brokers. You have the eToros, you have the big names. No problem. I'm not saying anyone's a bad business. It's just, this is their world. This is like a casino. So you get the names that are thrown into the retail world that makes it look like a get rich quick. And here's how you make money fast. You put money, there's no requirement for you to have any education, or you just have to put some money in. And they pretend that they're on your side. They're not on your side. Their business model is, you lose, we make money. They are exactly a casino. Their model is the same. I've spoken to the owners of Ladbroke and Coral in a Liverpool game in a box, and I used the sports arena as a networking event. And we spoke to them about I asked them about the business model. It's exactly the same as a financial brokerage. Like, there is a drawdown, there's a set drawdown, just like how in a betting store, you place a bet and the odds change right towards the end of the game, etc., or before the game starts. And that is because they have a guaranteed amount from all that money coming in that they will keep. And there will be a guaranteed amount that they'll give out as a drawdown. So they know that all that money coming in, 80% of it is ours, 20% will go out. It's just such an incredible business if you want to play on the other side of that world. I want it to be the right side, which is more ethical, teach people how to invest, not get rich quick, and don't be a fool and a sucker for the get rich quick, because that's where people get a bad reputation for the market. And the market is something that doesn't care who you are. So you're very right. It doesn't
Mm.
matter where you are, but everyone will try it. They will lose if they haven't got the education. And then they'll say, oh yeah, this stuff is a scam, and that's the problem with the industry. I've seen it the right way. I've seen it through the professional angle. I've seen how big money is made. And the reason why the wealthier get wealthy, the rich get richer, and the gap between the middle class and the rich gets super, like it's exponential growth. And the reason that is because of the education and understanding of the logistics behind the industry. As soon as you know that, and that's what I do at Fortune Academy, you're like, oh my God, okay, so I'm not going to get into that trap. And everybody who follows my systems make money. I'm not saying you're guaranteed to make X amount. But if they follow my trading systems and the risk management, they make money. And that's the beauty of what I do. And it's tough. And my challenge with most of them is making sure that they don't get lazy. And that's where the mindset angle comes in. And as you know, I'm very passionate about the whole mindset before money approach.
And mindset is such an important element, because the reflection of the values and the beliefs that you kind of grow up with play out in those decision makings, in the emotions. When the market goes down, how do you handle that kind of reaction of seeing, a paper loss and all these kind of things? What was it, do you think, in your childhood that gave you the foundation for what you would say is that winning mindset?
I grew up with parents arguing about money. My dad was the so-called business person. He meant well, but he didn't have the business acumen. So my mom, on the other hand, was a traditional housewife approach, so she wasn't allowed to do anything. Women weren't allowed. And I just saw them very unhappy. And I thought, well, simply in my head, because my dad made it look so simple that money is everything, which of course it's not. But I believed as a young person that would solve all their problems. So I was on a mission from the age of 9. I remember that turning point and thought, okay, well, I cannot wait to be 16 plus so I can legally earn money, like get a job and get out of school. And I carried on to higher education, etc., because I believe that was how I was supposed to make money, which of course it's not. So that was my driving force, just seeing unhappy parents, unhappy childhood, and seemingly money was a root cause of it. But of course, the root cause was just constraints and cultural and all of this stuff. Winning mindset just came from, I don't want to live that life and I want it to be different. And
it was a polarity response. It wasn't that you had this winning formula and great role models. It was kind of like, I didn't want to do it that way. And I can relate to that. My parents both are very risk averse. So for them, investing means losing money. Setting up a business means 98% failure rate. So I completely agree. Sometimes you see a way that kind of leads to a path you don't want to go down. Tell me about the Billionaire project. Where did the idea come from? What's it all about?
It started off as the CEO to IPO program. So fast forward to post 2008. So I had started, okay, let's start 2004. I started building a property portfolio in the UK, which I still have. 2008, after the crash, I was still really good with the property because I bought them cheap and the cash flow was positive. But long story short, you couldn't buy anything for about 9 months because the market had just come to a halt. So my mortgage broker, who was, relying on me for income, was on the financial markets and he started trading. So I kind of followed suit and thought that looks easy when it wasn't. And I learned the hard way that it's not easy. So learned from a trader in London. So long story short, I thought, where's my mentor? I had mentors in property. I cannot do this myself. I tried it myself. Education for Forex, online, free stuff. I lost like 350K in 9 months. Then I went to a trader in London. That's how I learned, a proper hedge fund guy, Mayfair based, one-on-one education. I had to invest as well. Otherwise they don't care to talk to you. This is where the misogyny came in. Like they don't take you seriously and then eventually you have to earn their respect, etc. And when I was in those circles, I honestly, all I do, and I love this about life, is I watch and learn from people. So I used to see, there was another client in that network in the hedge fund world, and the guy was making 5 million a week, and I was thinking, what are you doing? So how come, I love asking wealthy people what makes them rich. And so I asked this guy, and he was 60, I was 30, below 30 at this point. And just below 30. And I remember him saying, I have done IPOs, never even thought I would even care about IPOs, like public listing companies. He'd been doing it in the 80s when I just was born. I'm an 80s child. So in the 80s, he spent all of his 80s and early 90s doing reverse listing IPOs, so US market, etc. And then he became a stock lender, which means everyone, let's say Jeff Bezos wants to liquidate 200 million from Amazon to buy his super yacht, which by the way he has, and he would liquidate typically 400 to get that 200, and because they have to give away lots of shares to get their 200 million liquid. That's usually the ratio. I'm not saying it's market standard, but let's say 50% valuation. So this is what the stock lenders do. They buy stock really cheap, and they buy 10 million worth of stock and give out 5 million, so they buy it for half price. The guy was super wealthy, and I thought, wow, this is what I need to do. And they then tried to entice me to get into a property listing in the NASDAQ, use all my properties in the UK, put them in a listed vehicle and build stuff. And through learning this, and I learned from the financial world how the mechanics work, investment banking, etc., I thought, well, this could be quite lucrative. I want to do that, and I want to do it, long story short, I want to bring in the best people to go public with. So now we're doing an ESG. So one thing that I don't want to do is just create money for the sake of money, making money. One thing I really am keen on is making an impact. As every entrepreneur eventually gets to a point where money is no longer the driving force, it's really what kind of impact can you make? So we're going through the UN 17 goals, United Nations. They have 17 goals to make the world a better place. And although they're not very well met, there are no metrics as to how well they are done. We're doing the ESG angle, which is the environmental, social, and governance. So we're looking at AI, we're looking at health, we're looking at digital healthcare, we're looking at all of the things that are lining up to a possible acquisition by Amazon or Google or Tesla. So we're doing that at the moment. And the Billionaire Project is effectively the first time ever I'm allowing people to come on the journey with me, like me doing my real business. Because Fortune Academy is my legacy business. I love it. Of course it makes money, but it's not my primary income. What I really have always relied on is my business behind the scenes. And I'm an active person, learning, doing things, putting out new things in the market. And that's why people love my mentoring, because it's very real. It's not like I'm retired and just giving you some casual coaching. It's very hands-on and very high impact, and pressure is there. So the Billionaire Project is, let's take a company public. Let's set up a fund. If I've got one of the best crypto traders has joined my Millionaire Mindset program, and then the Billionaire Project, we've set up a Liechtenstein-based fund. Then we're going to do a Cayman Island fund. So that's what I do behind the scenes. So yesterday we had a meeting in Monaco, organizing all the fund structures, etc. We have to start with a 2.5 million, which we've got, and then we're going to add in extra 10 million. But so all I do behind the scenes is I've got a network of managing directors, investors. Let's bring them all together. I can get the money on the table. We want to get to 50 million as our first benchmark, then 100 obviously, and keep going. But it's possible because I've got a book of 1.2 billion from a managing director, from a single managing director from one tier 1 bank, is literally employed by me to work on the Billionaire Project, which I absolutely love. And knowing that we've got that relationship there with that client network and many other clients, that's what we're doing at the Billionaire Project. We're finally putting the two worlds together, the banking world and entrepreneurs. So I want people not to feel that they need to have a banking career in order to make that kind of wealth or become a fund manager or to go public. You can do it as an entrepreneur. Like me, I've never gone in the banking world. I don't plan to. I don't like it. I've coached them, and I've learned from them, and I respect them, but I wouldn't be a banker. And yet I can still make more money than them, create more impact than them. And that's what the Billionaire Project is all about. So impact, money is a guarantee, obviously, but it's more so the impact, meaningful projects, and really hitting 1 billion. That's why it's called the Billion Project. So we have to hit 1 billion on every project. That's my challenge. That's my new way of challenging myself, because you need to have a goal, and that's my next one.
Absolutely. And with your background and understanding of mindset, and also having this Billionaire Project, my belief is that anyone could be a multimillionaire. If you do the right things, that's possible. Billionaire's slightly trickier because you need to, like you say, have a business that kind of catches the zeitgeist. You have to kind of, access funding and the flotations, things like that.
Yeah.
What do you think, from your experience, are there a set of key beliefs that billionaires think of or believe that just, let's say, other wealthy people just don't? Is there something that makes them unique in terms of how they think about money or how they think about business?
I'm going off the billionaires I know and I speak to. So when I speak to them, they don't always focus on the money. I'll be honest. The money was initial. When you're trying to be a millionaire, you focus on the money, and that's very much there. When you're in flow of creating that amazing, bigger than you type of change, that's where the magic happens, you know. And that's why I've picked that ESG route and the environmental route, because I know that that means something bigger than, hey, I just want to be a billionaire. Because you can be a billionaire and then lose it all, or I don't know. I just feel like you can't be a billionaire without thinking huge. So the difference is they're not intimidated by money. From everyone I've met, they always think about purpose. So if I asked one of them directly, and he's not in Monaco, but he's in LA. And I said to him, well, San Francisco, Silicon Valley. And I said to him, why is the richest person on earth not female? And his answer was, well, they have to think bigger than the world. I don't think it's as simple as that, you know, because I think women do think huge. But I do feel that I've only got men billionaires as examples. This is the problem. So I can only relate to how men think. I honestly think, and from asking women who are wealthy and seeing why they stop at a certain point, they are just content faster. So I'm really kind of trying to figure out why women don't want to be super, super, super wealthy. Like, it's a major challenge to me. Whereas men, I'll give you an example. Billionaire Project, I worked with 10 people for the first 6 months, and they work with me for life. But my first intake was 10 people. 2 are women. That's it. And that's a disappointing statistic. I'm glad there are some. One of them had to be dragged across and said, hey, you have to be part of this. But otherwise, it was only one that stepped forward to actually do it. And this is a problem. Whereas the men, who are not even half the caliber of some of the women, just in terms of, you know, what they've achieved, etc. If you go off those metrics, they are like all in. They're like, yeah, let's play the big game. And honestly, it just means get really, really comfortable with numbers. Don't be intimidated by anything. And don't be afraid of what people think. Like, these people, I mean, I live in Monaco and near Cannes, and nobody worries about what people think. You know, like, this is the drama that I guess many people get sucked into. Let's try and people please. They want to help, but they know there's going to be repercussions. You cannot please everyone. So they're laser focused. And that's what I can say for now. It's actually not that strange. It's not that unique or different. It's just they've moved to an environment where money is no longer a discussion point. It's just a given. So why I moved to Monaco was exactly for that reason. It raised my game. I'm no longer thinking, oh, am I allowed to be a millionaire? I'm like, yeah, let's do it, you know, because you're no longer looking out the window or driving around your environment and thinking, oh, I might have to like tone it down a bit because, you know, he might get a bit pissed off that I'm looking a bit too well off. That's what happens in the UK a lot. You know, Mayfair is like a little district where you can get away with being a bit loud, but outside of that, you don't get that support. Whereas if you come to Monaco and the French Riviera, there are billionaires everywhere that don't care about what people think, and everyone is just normal, and it's just like the place to think big, you know. And that's what I think is important. And I had to do it. I couldn't think this big had I lived. And definitely not the place I grew up, but even moving around different parts of England, it's been a challenge. So I really appreciate that environmental change.
Yeah, there is a tall poppy syndrome, isn't there, in the UK, where if someone, you know, starts becoming financially successful, then they are very susceptible to being attacked for some level. You know, like, you're not being generous enough. You know, who do you think you are? That kind of attitude with the kind of men and women, you know, billionaires. You're right that, you know, the proportion of male billionaires to female billionaires is kind of crazy, you know, kind of skewed.
Yeah.
Do you think that is because women value things differently? Because it would reach a point where if you've got, you know, 3 billion or 6 billion, it's not going to affect the quality of your life. And we did see with the former wife of Jeff Bezos that when she had her divorce settlement, there seemed to be a very different strategic direction of philanthropy and giving that money away. Do you think that collectively there are things that men tend to value more and women tend to value and prioritize different things?
I absolutely, you know what, I think the media has a lot to do with it, because no one talks about why Jeff Bezos was in her garage growing up. you know, like he set up Amazon in her garage, not his own, and how much she was part of it. Although every time there was a female that divorces a billionaire, it looks like, you know, she's a nobody and she was just a gold digger, or she's just trying to get that paycheck, etc. Whereas that woman was incredibly important to Jeff Bezos's growth. So she possibly could have got more, in my opinion, you know. But it's the way the media portray, and this is what I don't like. They've always portrayed women as like, oh, let's do philanthropy, let's be Mother Teresa. They don't celebrate women who are powerhouse, like, yeah, I'm going to make 10 billion on this deal. They don't really put it out there. Whereas Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, they are constantly like, okay, his net worth went up 300 million in one day, you know, from this statement. They never say that about a female, even if it happens. This is the thing, like the media is run by predominantly men. All of these articles about the rich list is men writing this. I just feel it's a massive under representation on women. Women are not celebrated or allowed to be put on a platform and say, yes, you're wealthy. It seemed still a bit vulgar, still a bit of a, not sure if that's the right way for you. And
I think there are a few exceptions. I mean, things like Oprah Winfrey and Sarah Blakely, you know, there's a few that are kind of in that billionaire status that are lauded. There's been unfortunate incidents. I think it was Martha Stewart that to the point that she was a billionaire, she was in jail for insider trading. So there's always going to be things that, you know, slightly, you know, are taint that kind of role model kind of perspective. Do you think there's been a perception change, a tide change when it comes to billionaires? Because 10, 15 years ago, these were the rock stars of the business world. And now even Richard Branson, you know, as beloved as he was, there he is in space doing this amazing things. And it's kind of like, yeah, but his carbon footprint can't be good. You know, he's wasting 700,000, you know, doing this when there's poor people around. Do you think there has been a perception change in terms of celebrating the success of the ultra financially successful people?
I think that's forever been there. Social media has just made it more easy to be aware of different opinions now. I mean, I saw on Twitter today, Marianne Williamson saying, and she's obviously very famous, saying that if the billionaires were trying to get, I mean, she doesn't understand wealth clearly with this statement, right? And she said, and this annoys me as a female, seeing another amazing female, Marianne Williamson, like a powerhouse in the mindset world and spirituality. She said, if the billionaires sort out, don't quote me exactly, but she said, if they sort out enough validation on fighting world hunger as much as if they were going to space, you know, like saying that rather than focusing on space, focus on world hunger. You don't understand the way the world works if you think that way, you know, you really don't. There is far more to life than just solving world hunger is important. And that's why these ESG projects are made. In fact, you should hear more about them. That's the problem in the world. They're not spoken about. And yet in the banking world, they do have money going into these solving hunger. Every time we're talking about a project, they said, well, where's the environmental social governance angle? Because that's where the money is going to go. Are we helping the nation? Are we making it easier? There is a lot of work going into these projects, but they're just not talked about as much as the scandals or the hype and space. And, you know, it's the media. You have to read between the lines and really do. I guess it's hard to know what's going on in the banking world unless you're in it. And that's why I, at the Billionaire Project, I'm doing my tiny bit of help and showing and portraying that ESG only angle. Like we have loads of people coming in and trying to apply to be part of it. And they're like, I've got this company, you know, their own dream project, clothing company. I'm like, that doesn't solve the world's problems. Give me the ESG angle. If you can find that. Okay, if they say something like, yeah, we only use recycled products. Fantastic, tick. You know, I want to hear look at the UN 17 goals. Does your company fulfill any of those or wish to? And this is where the money is going to go. That's what we're doing at the Billionaire Project. We don't want to just take a company to make you wealthy just because you can hit a rich list. That's not the aim. So that it's all media, you know, like if we heard of the ESG projects, and I've seen so many projects in Africa, big water operation, like clean water in Africa, like there's multi millions going into that, and no one talks about it. That's the problem, you know. They talk about space, which is great for humanity, but it's not the only thing that's going on with money. And then a statement from Marianne Williamson just makes everyone think that nothing's happening there, which is quite annoying, you know. So there is much more going on than just that. But the perception is always there. But yes, to add to your statement, you're very right. The new set of wealth the new under 30s, even up to 40, okay, the millennial age of wealth, they do think a lot more ESG based. So they are focused on trying to help, hence the vegan thing is so big. Look at what Lewis Hamilton's doing. He's created Hamilton Cause. I love that, new young entrepreneurs or even world-class sports people are using and leveraging their position now in a really like a positive way, which I love seeing. And that's happening more so now than in the past, when like Bill Gates has become a philanthropist when he was older. Younger, he was focused on just Microsoft, so whereas now young people who are billionaires or making up to billions, they will go, and Instagram has given us a platform to actively stop racism or try to have equality here. Like they put out a lot of positive stuff, which I love. And I think that's definitely a new age thing more than the Richard Bransons. You didn't hear too much of Richard Branson trying to, I don't remember him doing anything like that, like what Lewis Hamilton's doing, So there is a lot of credit to the young entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah, and it's great PR for them as well. It's not just that it makes financial sense, but it's great for their reputation and that kind of thing. What would be your tips or advice to someone that wants to be better off financially, wants to be wealthy, but certainly isn't in that category right now? What would be your guidance to set them in the right direction?
It's very simple. It's your relationship with money. So I want them to journal, and it has to be written down, because I don't think if you keep it in your head, it's just a load of thoughts. No worries. The process is very scattered when it's just in your head. So what I request everyone to do when I mentor them on the Millionaire Mindset Project, for example, is write down exactly where your subconscious beliefs around money came from. So it comes from things like as simple as, who did you grow up around? What were your parents like around money? What did they say about money? What did they say about wealthy people? When you identify the patterns of your belief system, like I grew up, believe it or not, knowing that my father, and not my mom, but my dad always said that wealthy people were crooks. So can you imagine how that sat with me? So when I was in my mid-20s making money, I had a massive internal conflict thinking I was a bad person, yet I was wealthy. So I wasn't happy. So until 27, and I'm 39 now, I didn't get that inner peace around being wealthy. So it took a while, but I had to go back to, where is this coming from? And that belief system was simple as, my dad said that all wealthy people were crooks. And that was because he couldn't, that's the easiest way to make an excuse for why he wasn't wealthy, So you have to be very honest. You can protect your parents and say they were great. They probably weren't. They've tried, but they weren't exactly the best role models for money, perhaps. And then you've got to look at your school, your and even your current friends and your environment. One of the most positive things I've done in my life is moved home many times. Like I look out the window, and if I felt uncomfortable that, oh no, my neighbors might be frowning upon my success, you have to move. Like, don't try and convince them. I moved consistently until I'm in a place where I don't even have to think about, am I acting too ambitious? Like, that is a sabotaging thought. And if that even crosses your mind, I have to play it down. I can't be too loud because so-and-so might get a bit uncomfortable. That's the sabotage process. So money is just a tool. It's nothing more than that. You create that meaning behind it. So just use it well. If you are a good person, you'll be even better with it. If you're not, then you won't. But your subconscious pattern is where it starts. And that's where, I'm sure with your amazing hypnosis, you probably get to the roots of many people, or change these belief systems. But that's where I make people focus on. The rest is easy. You start making decisions that really, once you're sitting well with money and you can see yourself wealthy, most people cannot feel comfortable with the idea of them as a millionaire, let alone a billionaire. They don't even like themselves. If you like yourself as a millionaire, you will become a millionaire. If you like yourself as a billionaire and want to be that person, in your future, then you will be that. But it's a simple case of start inside. Hence, I always have in my slogan at Fortune Academy, mindset before money. People have serious issues around money, and it's so fun to help fix them, but it's not easy.
You're right. I would say there's two key things I've seen consistently, and that is these value judgments. It's kind of evil, bad, kind of sinister, that kind of basically money's bad, so that's a fundamental belief. Or it's about risk. there's that kind of fear of losing, what they have. And I think, when I do workshops on this, I say, look, if we've got a time machine, we're all billionaires, because there's zero risk, so it's not the risk itself, it's the attitude to risk that's going to stop you doing the things that can actually build those assets, create that cash flow, and then you can grow from there. If someone's listening now and they want to learn more about you, they want to learn more about the Billionaire Project, what's the best way they can reach out and connect?
Instagram is my favorite and most interactive platform. I tend to spend a lot of time and effort on that because it's so easy to put stories and interact. So Instagram at Hither Mann, and it's spelled exactly like my name. It's got a blue tick verification, so it's really useful because many cloned accounts of me, and that's the annoying thing. And I have to make people aware that there are many people using my social media pictures, posts, and they pretend to be me or some other person. So please don't fall into those traps. They are scams, and they literally take people's money for investment. We don't do investment. So let me just make it really clear to people. Fortune Academy is an education only. We never take your money to invest. We're not interested in that. We want you to be the investor. Like, you invest in your own future, and we'll just teach you. And it's so important. The Billionaire Project is a very advanced level, so people can start at the other levels first. So the Millionaire Mindset, where I teach you how to get that superpower house mindset for money, etc. That's a separate one. And then the Billionaire Project is something that you can do if you feel ready. It's really fun, but the whole thing, and I do many free events, live events, so they can follow me on Instagram and they can see all of that.
Fantastic. Hither, it's been a privilege to have you on the show today.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, Adam.
And to you at home, thanks for joining me on Modern Mindset. See you again soon for more.
Thank you for listening to Modern Mindset with Adam Cox. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review. Modern Mindset, picking the brains of the world's leading minds to help you unlock yours.
Really good setup.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for your time. Let me just stop the recording.